You fast for 16 hours with discipline. You skip breakfast, drink black coffee, and try to stay within your schedule. But just one night of poor sleep can erase that metabolic advantage. The next morning, you feel tired, your mind feels slow, and the craving for sugar feels stronger than usual. You may think it is weak willpower, but in reality, it is a biological signal. When you do not sleep enough, the body no longer sees fasting as a recovery strategy. It sees it as a threat, and when the body senses danger, the priority is no longer fat burning. The priority is survival. In that state, the body may stop releasing fat, increase glucose production from muscle, and begin storing energy around the abdomen. It sounds irrational. You are not eating, but the body still holds on to fat. You are trying to lose weight, but the body behaves as if energy is scarce. The reason lies in a factor many people ignore when talking about fasting. Sleep. Intermittent fasting is not only about not eating for a period of time, it is a hormonal strategy. When hormones are stable, the body is ready to burn fat. When hormones are disrupted, the body switches into defense mode. You can do everything right with diet, but if the sleep foundation is broken, the entire endocrine system changes. Staying up late, sleeping too little, looking at screens until midnight, waking up early, then trying to fast the next morning to compensate. In terms of calories, you are eating less, but biologically, the body is under more stress. And when stress rises, cortisol rises. When cortisol rises, the body does not want to burn fat. It wants to keep energy. Part 1, the biological clock out of sync, when lack of sleep turns fasting into stress. To understand why lack of sleep can ruin the effect of fasting, we have to look at the body's central control system. That system is the biological clock. The human body does not operate randomly from one meal to the next. It runs on a day-night rhythm. In the morning, hormones that make you alert increase. During the day, the body processes energy efficiently. In the evening, stress hormones decrease to prepare for sleep. At night, the body shifts into repair and recovery. When this rhythm is stable, intermittent fasting works very well. Insulin drops at the right time. Cortisol rises at the right time. Growth hormone is released during sleep. Fat burning and repair happen smoothly. But when you go to bed late, sleep too little, or are exposed to bright light at night, the biological clock starts to shift. Light from phones, computers, or working late sends a signal to the brain that it is still daytime. The brain does not lower cortisol. Melatonin does not rise enough, and the body does not enter deep recovery mode. When cortisol does not fall at night, the next morning it stays elevated. This is very important, because when you begin fasting in the morning, the body should be in a stable state. But instead, it is in defense mode. High cortisol tells the body that the environment is not safe. And when the environment is not safe, the body does not want to spend energy. It wants to keep energy. At that point, fasting is no longer understood as rest. It is understood as deprivation. When the signal of deprivation appears together with stress, the body activates survival mechanisms. The liver increases glucose production. Muscle tissue is broken down to create energy. Visceral fat is preserved for storage. The paradox is that you may not eat anything, but blood sugar is still unstable. Not because you ate wrong, but because hormones are in the wrong state. Many metabolic studies show that just one night of short sleep can reduce insulin sensitivity the next day. That means the body handles glucose worse, stores energy more easily, and burns fat less efficiently. When this happens, Fasting is no longer a recovery signal. It becomes another stress. Part 2, cortisol at the wrong time when lack of sleep pushes the body into survival mode. When talking about how lack of sleep can ruin the effects of fasting, the most important hormone to mention is cortisol. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but its real role is to help the body survive in dangerous situations. In a normal day, cortisol follows a very clear rhythm. In the morning, it rises to help you stay alert. During the day, it gradually decreases. In the evening, it drops low, so the body can prepare for sleep. At night, cortisol must stay low for recovery to happen. This rhythm is very important. When cortisol drops at the right time, insulin stays stable. Growth hormone is released, and the body can repair tissue, burn fat, and regenerate cells. But when you do not sleep enough, the cortisol rhythm is disrupted. Instead of falling in the evening, cortisol stays elevated. The brain interprets this as ongoing stress, so it does not allow the recovery system to work normally. As a result, the next morning, cortisol starts the day already high. This is where the problem appears with fasting. When you fast while cortisol is high, the body does not understand that you are resting. It understands that you are lacking energy while facing danger. When those two signals appear together, the body activates survival mechanisms. One of those mechanisms is gluconeogenesis. The liver begins producing glucose from internal sources, especially from protein in the muscles. This explains why you may not eat anything. But blood sugar does not go low. The body is making its own glucose to protect the brain. From a biological perspective, this makes perfect sense. The brain needs stable energy. When stress rises, the body prioritizes maintaining blood sugar instead of burning fat. So instead of using fat as fuel, the body may break down muscle to make glucose. At the same time, high cortisol also increases the tendency to store fat around the abdomen. Visceral fat has more cortisol receptors than other areas. When this hormone stays elevated, the body tends to keep energy around the liver and intestines. This is an ancient survival response. When the environment is unstable, keeping energy close to vital organs is the safest strategy. That is why you can fast very strictly. But if you lack sleep, the body still stays in defense mode. Fat burning decreases. Muscle breakdown increases. Visceral fat becomes easier to store. Part 3, the hunger trap. Lack of sleep makes the brain want sugar, not fat burning. What makes lack of sleep ruin fasting the most is not only cortisol, it is the way the brain controls hunger and fullness. Two hormones regulate this system, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is the hunger signal. Leptin is the signal that enough energy is available. When you sleep enough, these two hormones stay balanced. You feel hungry at the right time. You feel full at the right time, and the body can maintain stability during fasting. But just one night of poor sleep can shift this balance. Ghrelin rises noticeably. Leptin drops. The brain receives the signal that the body lacks energy, even when you are not actually low on calories. This is a survival response. When you lack sleep, the brain uses more energy to stay alert. To compensate, the body increases hunger signals to push you to find food quickly. The problem is, the brain does not crave vegetables, does not crave protein, does not crave low-energy food. It craves sugar. Sugar gives fast energy. Sugar increases dopamine. Sugar makes the brain feel less tired immediately. That is why after one night of poor sleep, cravings for sweets are usually much stronger. This is not weak willpower. The prefrontal cortex, the part that controls behavior, works less efficiently when you lack sleep. At the same time, The reward center of the brain reacts more strongly to foods high in sugar and fat. The result is that you choose cake instead of eggs. Choose sweet coffee instead of water. And break your fast more easily than usual, even if you still try to fast. The body is not in a good fat-burning state. Cortisol is high. Insulin rises easily. Ghrelin is high. Leptin is low. All of these signals tell the body that this is not the time to spend energy. This is the time to keep it. That is why many people notice that after one night of poor sleep, fasting feels much harder. And the results are worse. Not because fasting does not work, but because the hormonal system is in the wrong state. Part 4. When you lack sleep. Fasting is no longer recovery. It becomes double stress. This is the point where many people who practice fasting make mistakes. They believe the more disciplined, the better. The longer the fast, the more effective. And if they ate too much or slept too little yesterday, then the next day they should fast longer to compensate. But the body does not work that way. Fasting only brings benefits when the body feels safe enough to use stored energy. When you sleep well, the nervous system is stable. Cortisol is low at night. Insulin is sensitive. And the body is ready to switch into fat-burning mode. In this state, fasting is a recovery signal. Autophagy happens more easily. Fat burning runs smoothly. Growth hormone rises. Muscle is protected. But when you lack sleep, the body is not in a safe state. It is in alert mode. The sympathetic nervous system becomes more active. Heart rate is higher. Cortisol is higher. Blood sugar fluctuates more easily. If you continue long fasting in this condition, you are no longer sending a recovery signal. You are sending a stress signal. And when stress rises, the body changes its priorities. It does not try to burn fat. It tries to keep energy. One common response is reduced metabolism. The body begins conserving energy. Body temperature may drop slightly. You feel colder. You have less energy. You get tired more easily during exercise. This is not a good sign. This is a sign the body is shifting into survival mode. Another response is increased muscle breakdown. When stress is high and sleep is low, the body needs fast glucose. If it cannot get it from food, it takes it from protein. Protein converts to glucose more easily than fat. So in a stress state, the body may break down muscle before burning fat. That is why some people fast very strictly, but still notice their body becoming softer, their belly not shrinking, and their strength decreasing. Not because the method is wrong, but because sleep was ignored. Another important point is that lack of sleep increases visceral fat storage. Prolonged high cortisol raises the activity of fat-storing enzymes in the abdomen. The body treats the area around the liver and intestines as a safe place to keep energy. So when stress increases, fat is more likely to accumulate in the belly than in other areas. If you are both sleep-deprived and fasting long, the signal sent to the body is energy shortage, unsafe environment, need to store. And that is the worst state for fat loss. Part 5. The right strategy when you do not sleep enough. Do not fast long. Stabilize hormones first. The most common mistake when applying intermittent fasting is thinking that fasting must stay fixed every day. But the body does not run on the clock. It runs on physiological state. If you slept well last night, the body feels safe. And longer fasting can bring benefits. But if you just went through a night of poor sleep, the body is in a stress state. And continuing to fast too long can disturb hormones even more. What matters is not how many hours you fast, but whether the body is ready to fast. When you lack sleep, the priority should not be extending the fast, but stabilizing the nervous system and hormones first. The most reasonable strategy on a sleep-deprived day is to shorten the fasting window. Eat a little earlier and choose foods that help stabilize blood sugar. A meal high in protein with healthy fats and low in fast sugars will help insulin rise moderately, cortisol gradually fall, and the nervous system return to balance. When the body feels safe again, metabolism can function normally. Many people are afraid that eating earlier will ruin the effect of fasting, but in reality, eating at the right time on a sleep-deprived day prevents prolonged stress. And that is better for fat loss than forcing a longer fast. Another important point is that lack of sleep temporarily reduces insulin sensitivity. If you are sleep-deprived, fasting long, and drinking strong coffee to stay awake, cortisol may rise even more. When that happens, the body becomes less able to use fat as fuel. On the other hand, if you eat lightly, move gently, and sleep well the next night, insulin sensitivity can recover very quickly. The body does not need perfection every day. It needs stability over time. People who lose fat sustainably are not the ones who fast the longest, but the ones who know when to fast and when to recover. Because fasting is not a test of willpower. It is a biological signal. If you send it at the right time, the body burns fat. If you send it at the wrong time, the body defends.